Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all well. So in this video we are going to be reviewing the brilliant Marvel Spider-Man animation series, and I just want to say from the get-go, I absolutely love this show. I think it's such a cool adaptation for Spider-Man, and in particular for season 3. I just thought it was such an awesome season with such engaging episodes from start to finish. It was just such an enjoyable ride, and I just thought it was so brilliant. They managed to balance Peter's world, Spidey's world, and the wider Marvel world really well without kind of overdoing it, which I thought was really great. And they did kind of make you feel like it is focused on Spider-Man and Peter Parker. Even though there are quite a few other characters in there, you do kind of feel like it is centralized around the Spider-Man and Peter Parker character, which is really great. And as this is the third season, they could jump straight into the chaos and straight into the action without necessarily having to do a lot of setup, because they've already done that in the first and second season. So from that point of view, it was really cool. And I also like the fact that they also continued what they did with seasons 1 and season 2, which was to have overarching storylines and kind of ongoing storylines and themes. Whilst each episode was still standalone, there was still the overarching storytelling narrative and storytelling structure, which is really cool. And the other addition that they've done with season 3 in particular is releasing two-parters each week. And then what that meant was that each time that they release a two-parter episode, it does feel like a bit of a mini movie, which is really cool. I do wish that the third season was a little bit longer so that we could have seen a lot more episodes and a lot more action like we had with seasons 1 and seasons 2. But that being said, I thought it was really cool. I really do hope that this show gets renewed and gets a 4th season, because I think there's so much more story to tell, and the world that they've created, honestly, in Marvel Spider-Man is so good, and I cannot wait to break it down for you in more details in this video review. So from a storytelling structure point of view, this season had obviously a lot of storylines going on there, but there are two main overarching storylines that all of the episodes are kind of building towards, which is really awesome. So the first overarching storyline was the Venom Symbiote Invasion storyline. Now all of the marketing material for this storyline was absolutely brilliant, which showed all of the heroes and some of the villains getting taken over by the Venom Symbiote and only leaving Spider-Man, Moon Knight, Aunt May and Max Modell having to try to fix this whole situation. Now it was absolutely awesome. It really showed how dire the entire situation was for Peter Parker and Spider-Man and his little group trying to save the day, and how overwhelming all of the symbiote heroes are and how destructive they are in almost taking over the entire world, which was absolutely brilliant. I do wish that this storyline had gone on for a little bit longer, like the Goblin War and the Superior Spider-Man storylines were, because I just feel like this storyline, because it was so epic, it really could have stretched across a few more episodes and made it really brilliant. But that being said, what we did get here was really cool. And I also liked what they did in terms of bringing Venom back for the final episode and really concluding this season and potentially the whole series by really showing the final battle is between Spider-Man and Venom, which I think is really suitable. So the second big overarching storyline was also to do with the symbiote, which is definitely the theme of season 3, but this time it was focusing on the Dark Green Goblin, which was just absolutely brilliant. So all of the human versions of our heroes are really feeling the pain of all of this chaos that is happening, and you don't know who the big bad is behind all of this, and then it's ultimately revealed that it is Norman Osborn, which I thought was such a brilliant reveal. If this is the final season, then I think Norman Osborn kind of being the big bad behind all of this was a really great satisfying reveal, as you know, he is the kind of big character behind all of the chaos that does happen in the comic books for this character. So I thought it was really appropriate for him to potentially conclude this show with this final showdown, and he's using Chameleon, Swarm, Lizard and the Jackal to kind of help him return and to ultimately try to take down the Spider-Man army. And I thought this was really interesting as well, as Norman Osborn does say that Peter Parker and Spider-Man are really successful because of their friendship group, so he wanted to destroy this and try to take all of them down. And the other bit of this storyline that I really liked was that they brought Harry Osborn back, and this time in seasons 1 and season 2 he's kind of having a bit of a begrudging relationship with Peter and with Spider-Man because he constantly wants to please his father, but they really nicely showed a lot of character development for the Harry Osborn character, and he's kind of showing that he's his own great hobgoblin versus the Green Goblin. So I thought all of the development with Harry not kind of being under the shadow and wanting to constantly people please his father was really, really interesting. I wish that this storyline had gone on for a bit longer. Similarly with the Venom Invasion storyline, I feel like this could have gone on for a little bit longer. But that being said, what we did get was really, really cool. And then we had a couple of other mini storylines in terms of Peter's relationship with the Avengers and him also kind of moving on and not wanting to kind of be an Avenger anymore, but trying to make a name for himself with his Spider-Man friends, which is really, really cool. Groot obviously came back and was a big player in helping the whole anti-Venom side of things, which is really, really great. And then of course we had Doctor Strange, Mordo and AIM in there as well, and other new heroes for Spider-Man to interact with as well. But like I said before, they didn't overdo it necessarily with stuffing too much Marvel in there, which I do think they did with Ultimate Spider-Man. So anyway, from a storyline point of view, Marvel Spider-Man Season 3 was absolutely epic. So from a cast and characters point of view, I have to say, this show is just so good. All of the different characters that they've created are really true to their comic book origins, and they haven't stuffed it too much with too many Marvel characters, but they are still there so that you do feel like Spider-Man is part of the wider Marvel world, which I just think is one of those main reasons which makes this show so good. So let's go through them quickly one by one. So first up we have Robbie Raymond, who brilliantly brings the Spider-Man and the Peter Parker character to life. You really do see this character growing up a lot more since the first 2 seasons. He still has the brilliant humour and wit that you would expect from this character, and actually there are quite a lot of laugh out loud moments, which is just really, really cool. And like I said before, Spider-Man and Peter Parker really are the central leads in this show. Whilst there are quite a few characters, it does do a really good job in terms of ensuring that Spider-Man is front and centre throughout the entire show. We then have the Spider Friends in there as well, which is basically Anya, Gwen Stacy and Miles Morales, which is really, really great. And like I said, they are there, but they don't suffocate the show necessarily. You know, they're there, they have got their own storylines as well, but they don't necessarily overshadow Spider-Man and Peter Parker. I would say because of the fact that this season is a lot smaller and a lot more condensed, their individual storylines are not as great as they were in the first 2 seasons. But that being said, they do still have mini storylines. So for example, Gwen Stacy is almost being taken over by the Jackal character. You see a lot more interaction between Miles Morales and his father, and also Anya and her stepsister, which is just really, really interesting. Harry Osborn is there as well. He didn't get that much character development either, but you know, similarly to the other 3 Spider Gang friends, he had a lot of character development in the first 2 seasons. So in this season, I think it's a bit understandable that he's not as big of a presence as the other seasons were. But what I did like in terms of what they did with his character is showing how he's grown up a little bit and how he's not wanting to constantly be under Norman Osborn's shadow and constantly wanting to people please him, which I thought was really, really great. Iron Man / Tony Stark is in this show as well, and he's got his typical arrogant / mentoring role for Spider-Man in this show as well. Similarly to Harry Osborn, it was really nice to kind of see the Peter Parker character decide to take his own path. He could have gone easily down the Avengers path and kind of continued his desire to kind of be part of that group, but actually at the end of the show he decided to take his own path with his spider friends, which I thought was really, really cool. Venom is a massive part of this show, and you also get to see the other Venom symbiotes and how truly unstoppable they are, and how they have a different relationship with the Venom character as well, which I thought was really, really great. We then have a lot of other mini characters in this show as well. So the first one was Moon Knight / Mark Spector. Obviously he's there to kind of do a bit of promotional material for the upcoming Disney Plus show. But either way, because we don't know that much about this character in terms of other iterations of Marvel TV shows, it was really nice to kind of see this character being front and center and having a lot of screen time with the Peter Parker character. Doctor Strange was absolutely brilliant, really did show how much of an absolute powerhouse this character is, especially when the symbiote took over this character, which was really, really cool. The Groot character, the baby Groot character, was as cute as ever. Really liked how they did the anti-Venom storyline a little bit differently with the Groot character, which I thought was really, really cool. Nice that they introduced Mary Jane into this show as well. Another reason why I just really want to see another season of this show, to really see how the Mary Jane and Peter Parker relationship will happen in this version of the show. It was also really nice to kind of see a lot more development from the Aunt May character as well. She wasn't an old lady who's just going to stay at home. She was trying to do a bit of a Cupid situation with Peter and MJ, and she was also trying to defeat all of the symbiotes herself as well, which is really, really cool. Max Modell is also another character that has a bit of a continued storyline from the other season, which was really, really interesting and was a big catalyst with the whole Venom symbiote in the final episode. And then I also really like how they're continuing to show other young heroes for Spider-Man to interact with. And this time they were showing Ironheart and Totally Awesome Hulk, but previously they've shown Miss Marvel and other ones as well. So, you know, from a character's point of view, I think Marvel Spider-Man Season 3 was absolutely brilliant. So from a visuals point of view, Marvel Spider-Man honestly looks absolutely amazing. It's super watchable, super engaging. You really do feel like you're immersed into the Marvel Spider-Man world. You can tell that they're trying to do their own thing in terms of the look and feel and the overall design of all of the different characters. But that being said, it does honour the source material really, really well. It doesn't go off the comic book designs of the characters too much and actually looks really true to how you would imagine them to look like. I do feel like they could have pushed the visual and graphic department a little bit more to make it even more engaging, but that being said, from a visuals point of view, Marvel Spider-Man Season 3 looks absolutely spectacular. So in terms of comparisons, I did really like the third season of Marvel Spider-Man. I did really like the fact that they were trying something different in terms of releasing episodes in 2 parts. As like I said before, it did kind of feel like a bit of a mini movie. By comparison, in terms of the other seasons, the only reason I preferred the other seasons was because there were more episodes, which was just really enjoyable in terms of having loads of content for this brilliant show, and so I just wish the third season was a little bit longer. But that being said, it is a really cool show. In terms of comparing it to other Spider-Man animations that are created, I do still really like this show. It's definitely my second favourite Spider-Man TV show. The only one that I slightly prefer to this is the 90s version, because I thought it was a little bit edgier and a little bit darker. But that being said, Marvel Spider-Man definitely takes a lot of inspiration from that show in terms of showing loads of different characters, having Spider-Man and Peter Parker front and centre, and having loads of different characters kind of interacting, which kind of means that the Spider-Man and Peter Parker world is really at jeopardy. So in terms of comparison, this is definitely my second favourite Spider-Man animation out there. So in the end of the third season of Marvel Spider-Man, Venom makes a big comeback, even though it seemed as if he was destroyed in the first 2-parter episode, but actually a little bit of his symbiote went into Max Modell and he was becoming a parasite instead of a symbiote over there, and was kind of slowly taking over the Max Modell character, which I thought was really cool. And then because of that, he was able to turn into Maximum Venom, which I thought was such a clever way to nod to the title and also nod to the Maximum Carnage storyline as well. And then when he's kind of in Max Modell, he is able to bring his other sisters from the Venom planet, and they are Scream, Scorn and Mania, and they are causing loads of mayhem. Similarly to all of the other comments that I said before, it would have been nice to kind of see this storyline extended a little bit more, but you know, that being said, they did definitely make an impact in terms of almost destroying the entire world. And then the show ends on a bit of a hopeful, positive and bright future look for the human characters as Peter Parker sets up Web, which is a worldwide engineering brigade, and has Iron Man and Tony Stark's funding this, so all of the scientists and great minds can get together and plan for the future. So even if this is the end of the entire series, then it does end on a really positive and hopeful note. So even though the third season of Marvel Spider-Man did kind of conclude everything in a way that they could finalise this series, I am really hopeful that they do a 4th series, and if they do a 4th season, then here are my predictions of what could happen. So now that the X-Men are finally under Marvel's full control, it would be really nice to kind of see them having an appearance in the 4th season. I also think that there could be a death with one of the main characters, like there was with the Otto Octavius character. So maybe one of the main characters could die, and they could introduce Silk as a new Spider-Man team member. I think they could also go into alternate universes as well. Multiverses are all the rage these days, so I do feel like they could experiment with that in Marvel Spider-Man as well. We also don't know what the Jackal's plan was for Gwen Stacy and what his kind of big plan that he was planning in the background. So hopefully we can find out what that's all about. Hopefully we can see the Swarm character back and a lot more interaction between Miles and his father. I think they can finally introduce the Kingpin and finally have his relationship with Alistair Smythe as well. And that can kind of be the new big bad that Norman Osborn was kind of being. As far as the Peter Parker character is concerned, I think they're going to speed up his relationship with Mary Jane. Maybe they go to college together, maybe they get engaged, maybe he gets a new job, so I feel like the Peter Parker character will do a lot of stuff. I feel like they're definitely going to bring the Eddie Brock character back. Maybe he becomes anti-Venom or something else like that. I feel like the Eddie Brock character definitely needs to return. And also Black Cat, that is one character that I feel like they haven't really done much justice to throughout this entire series. So I hope when she comes back, she actually has a lot more of a bigger presence on the actual show. And then finally, I think they have to bring in Cletus Cassidy, and the Carnage character needs to cause absolute chaos to everybody in this world. So I just feel like the 4th season has so much potential, and I really do hope that this series gets renewed for a 4th and 5th season in the future. So overall, I'm sure you can tell, I absolutely love the 3rd season of Marvel Spider-Man. I just really love how they've just created such a great world, such great characters, such brilliant storylines that are really true to the comic book origins, and are just told in such a fun, comedic and entertaining way. So I really do hope that this isn't the last season that we see of this brilliant show, but if it is, then I definitely think it ended on a high, and the 3rd season was absolutely brilliant, and for all of those reasons, I have to give this season a solid 8 out of 10. I'd love to hear what you think, so please let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in my next video.